Hi, this is Darren here from Property Prosperity. I don't know if anyone's watching out there tonight. It's getting pretty late in the end of the day, so be interesting to see if anyone gets on board. So what I thought I'd have a bit of a chat to you today is about subdividing your block, and also about what to do if you ring up the council when you're trying to subdivide your block and you find out that you're less than what their minimum requirements are to be able to subdivide your block. So example might be that your block is 570 square meters and the minimum block size is 300 square meters to be able to subdivide from 1 to 2. So in theory then, I can't be able to subdivide it because it doesn't fit what the council requires. And so you might be a bit depressed and you might think, oh, what do I do now? So that's what I'm going to have a chat to you about today. So couple of things to think about. So the first thing is you got to understand why you're subdividing. So you're subdividing to create 2 blocks of land, but at the end of the day, no one wants land, they want a house. And so the whole reason you're subdividing is to create the opportunity for someone to buy 2 blocks of land, or 1 block of land, another person buy another block of land, and then they can build 2 houses. So that's the first thing. A lot of people just purely focus on subdividing as to try and create land and sell land. But the thing to understand is it's great to subdivide a block, but if no one's going to buy it because they can't fit a house on it or they can't build the house they want on there, then you're not going to be able to sell it. So that's the first thing I'd look at is, what sort of house will be able to fit on there? Is it going to be, 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms and double garage and whatever it's going to be? And thinking about whether the market is looking for that type of block. So if it's a 150 square meter block, and it's out in the suburbs where everyone's living in 4-bedroom, houses with big double garages and stuff, then you're not going to be able to sell it. So who cares? Even if you can get it through council and get it subdivided and you get a 150 square meter block, no one's going to buy it because they can't fit the house they want on it, because people around that area aren't looking for that type of block. So whereas if you're in the city and you got a 150 square meter block, then someone might do a more higher density sort of house, and then it's fine, So what I'd be more focused on is what sort of house are you going to actually you build on there. And so that understand the stages of building a house. There's basically, or doing a development, I suppose. So there's subdivision approval, that's subdividing the block from 1 into 2. And then there's planning approval, which is building the house on the block. It's sort of the layout of the house, the setbacks and where everything, the size of the backyard, the house relative to the block, how everything works basically. And then you got building approval, which is the structure of the house. That's all the nuts and bolts, how it's all put together. So if you're doing a development, then obviously subdividing is pretty important. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's about building the house. So really, when I'm doing a subdivision and what I'm focused on is planning approval, which is the house is going to fit on the block. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to sell the house at the end of the day. You're trying to, even if you're selling land, you're trying to sell the opportunity to build a house on there. And so you want to try and work out whether that's going to work on there, I suppose. Building approval side of things, that's generally dealt with by the builder. I wouldn't get too stressed about it. Hey, Mark Faulkner, how you going? Thanks for joining. And so firstly, understand it's subdivision approval, planning approval, and building approval. So don't get too stressed about the building approval. You can let the builder worry about that. The subdivision is important, but really focus on the planning approval. So that's probably that comes back to my logic of how do I try and get something approved for subdivision approval when it doesn't fit within the council requirements. The thing to understand is the council aren't thinking about you subdividing a block of land. The council are thinking about you building homes and building a house. At the end of the day, they're trying to look after their people in the area and make everyone happy and healthy. So they're focusing on what sort of house is going to fit in the block and is it going to fit within the area. So what you should be thinking about is your subdivision or is your development going to make your area a nicer place? Yeah, and that's because that's what the council are thinking about. So, by you building a couple of houses on there, is that going to make the area nicer or worse? If it's going to make the area nicer, then you council probably, want to support it. And at the end of the day, they want the area to be nicer than otherwise would. So if you use that sort of logic, it gets actually pretty simple to try and work out whether council are going to approve something or not. If you're in a suburb where the area is pretty nice, if you're in some of the eastern suburbs areas where there's $1 million houses and everything's pretty amazing, the council pretty much like that area already. So, you'd have to do something pretty amazing to be better than what's already there. So, people argue about certain suburbs, they make it really hard for you to develop, but generally they're suburbs that are already nice already. So they're not trying to make you hard to develop, make it hard to develop. They just want they want the area to be nicer. So they've just got higher standards of what they expect. If you're in an area which is pretty dodgy, he's got pretty crappy old houses and they're all falling down, and this council, we're going to support you with any sort of development. Almost anything you can do will make the area nicer. So the council are going to bend over backwards to try and help you with the development. They're going to try and make it as easy as possible. So I think it's important to understand council aren't there trying to make things difficult for you. They're just trying to make the area nice. They're trying to make it a nice environment to live in, and their job's that at the end of the day. So all their rules and regulations, all that sort of stuff, people get really focused on the setbacks and the size of the backyard, which is called private open space, and the house size relative to the block, which they call site coverage. All those technical sort of things. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Is it going to be nice? Is it going to work? Is it going to be a nice place to live? What they call private open space, the size of the backyard. The reason they make it that size is because it's nice to have a backyard. If you were living in a house, you'd like to have a backyard too. The reason they have setback from the front of the house is because you need to be able to fit a car in your driveway. So you don't have all these cars parked in the street. And just because it looks nice, if you have all the houses in a row on the street, when you're driving down the street, it just looks really nice. And so you can generally find that all these rules and regulations and all these particular things, they come back to the pure logic of, is it going to be nice? So that comes back to my original question, how do I get a subdivision approved that doesn't fit within the council requirements? So if their minimum block size is 300 square meters and you're going to have, 2 blocks which are going to be, 270 square meters, then just show that whatever development you're going to do is going to make the area nice. So focus on the planning approval side of things. And then once you can get planning approval, once you can show that the houses are going to be nice and it's going to be, it's going to add to the area, they'll give you subdivision approval. They don't really care. They say, hey, well, if you can show it's going to work and it's going to make the area nicer, they're not too focused on their regulations as far as the minimum block sizes and all the other sort of stuff. So hopefully that's made sense to people, and hopefully, if you've liked what I said, then click on the like button. If you haven't liked what I said, then you can still click on the like button. That'd be cool. And thanks for watching. And if you thought someone might be find that useful, then obviously share my little explanation to them. And hopefully, there's heaps of people. I talk to people all the time that sort of look at developments I've done, and they're like, "How the hell did you get that approved?" When I've been trying for years to try and get something approved. And it's come down to, it sounds pretty simple, but you just got to try and make it work. Is it making the area nicer than it otherwise would be? And then talk to the council. I go in there negotiating with the council and not in a argumentative sort of state. I get in there and we're working together to try and get the best outcome at the end of the day. So thanks guys for joining. If you've got any questions or comments, feel free to put it in the comment box and I'm happy to try and answer any future questions. If you like what I said, click on the like button. If you think someone else will get some use out of it, click on the share button. Otherwise, I look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye, guys.